You know I'm hot if I don't have my scarf. It's like my trademark. I'm ready, Ruth. I feel this goes along with what we have been learning, especially I listened to last week's message again this morning, and what spoke to me the most was what a man thinks, so is he, and definitely expectations. So the topic that I decided to do, which I know I operate in excellence, is true friendship. So that's the title of today's message, True Friendship. I'm going to start with an introduction. John chapter 15, verse 15. And I'm going to read out of the Amplified. It says, I do not call you servants, slaves any longer, for the servant does not know what his master is doing, working out. But I have called you my friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. I have revealed to you everything that I have learned from him. But I have called you my friends. That is the greatest friend and true friend of all time that we should have. A lot of us don't because we haven't accepted it or allowed him in. But I'm telling you, he is the greatest friend of all time, and he said he has called us friends. I have been blessed all my life to see and witness true friendship stemming from my parents and my grandmother. My grandmother, that was my world. And she was the greatest example, along with my mom and my dad, as true friendship. They weren't flip-floppers or what me and one of my close friends, Maria, called Insta-friends. 1 minute, I'm your friend. Next minute, oh, I'm not your friend. Or, oh, some new bunch of people come around that I enjoy. I'm going to put you on the side. But then when they show them true colors, oh, let me go back to the real people. We don't operate like that. My mom, my dad, and my grandmother, they would do anything for who they considered a true friend. They were accountable. They were responsible. They were reliable, trustworthy. Anyone that has been around my dad, that's where I get it from, honest. Sometimes both of us, we joke around that we need some balance with it, when to know to shut up and when to know to speak. But I remember I said to my dad yesterday, I said, but you know what? Even when we do get corrected, when we should have been quiet, at least I know I could say that someone will never say, Angie lied to me or never was honest. Even if I was wrong and should not have spoken at that moment, but I know that I am honest, and that's what I expect to give, because that's what my true friend, God, my mom, my dad, and my grandmother has always given me and continues to give me. True friendship also stems from bearing a good fruit. So Matthew 15, verse 17. I'm going to read out of the AMP. Matthew 15, verse 17. I changed my mind. I'm going to read out of the NIV. Don't you see that whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and then out of the body? To me, that showed integrity. That's what I got from it when I read it yesterday. And it goes along with what we also have been learning. What you speak, what you allow to enter, what you allow to enter in your body, your stomach, your heart, that's what's going to come out. And especially if you're around people that you call friends and what they keep entering into your mouth that you allow to go into your heart, your mind, and your stomach, that's what's going to come out, good or bad. You have to make that choice and decision. Now we're going to discuss, do you value yourself as a friend? There was a quote that I saw one time, I don't know who it was from, but it struck me. In order to have truly loving and long-lasting relationships with other people, you need to learn how to be your own best friend first. And I'm also making reference back to, again, last week when Pastor spoke about what a man thinks, so is he. Do you value yourself as a friend? Because that is how you will treat the people that you call yourself friends. If you don't see yourself as a friend, as trustworthy, and even more importantly, you haven't accepted God as your friend, then that's how you're going to behave. Must be friendly to have friends. That's Proverbs 18:24. This means to accept God as your friend and to truly value and see yourself as a friend. Something to think about. How many of you have a true friend since childhood and you still are close and you still could call each other friends? I do. I have one that I've known since we were in first grade, 6 years old. That's 30 years because we're both 36. Not only are we best friends, we're family, we're sisters, and that's Zuleika that I've known since I was 6 years old. We spent a lot of time with each other's families. Our parents interacted, with each other, and it's a responsibility. A lot of people like to throw that word friend around, but they don't understand the responsibility and the accountability behind it. And even this week, I had to speak to two of my 7th grade boys that got into a little fight. And before I addressed the issue, I said, I don't want to use the word friend if you two are not friends, because I don't use that word lightly. So I asked them, I said, are you two friends? And they said yes. And I said, okay, we can address the issue. So I let both of them, speak. And then I asked them, I said, well, do you see yourself as a great friend to Brendan? Do you see yourself as a great friend to John? And I just saw the light in their eyes, like, I don't understand why Ms. Brown is asking me that. And one of them, John, asked me, well, why are you asking us this, Ms. Brown? I said, because if you valued yourself as a friend and know your worth as a friend, you two would not be treating each other like this. And that opened the door for us getting to the root of the issue that they've been having for this past year. And that blessed me that I was able to help them with that. And one of them actually did say to me, which kids are very observant, and Brendan was like, well, Miss Brown, I see how you are with the people at school here. And he goes, I know all of them you don't call friends. I'm sure they call you their friend, but you probably wouldn't call them your friend. But you're always faithful and honest, and that's what I respect, and that's what I want as a friend too. And that spoke to me. That did. That's just what I do, so that's just what I do. My other close friend since I was 14 years old, Maria Jesus. Yes, I have a friend that's named Jesus. He's Dominican. Mel and Fu. He's my Asian friend. And again, that was not instant. It was a responsibility, an accountability, and a comfort level that we all had to come to. And we are always there for each other. We always have each other's back, Even some of us don't live in the same state anymore, but that doesn't stop us. We make time to Skype, talk on the phone, we get group chats. We do what we have to do to continue having that long-lasting friendship and relationship. Linda. Hi. We've known each other since 17 years old, and we went to college together. People thought that we were sisters because we were always around each other. It just happened. We had like 1 or 2 classes together, and our schedule for our first semester actually matched. Whenever she was in class, I was in class. We had the same breaks. That was how we developed and continued to nurture our relationship. It turned into a friendship. It turned into sisterhood. It turned into family. But it was both ways, which I will address later on. It wasn't one-sided. Then it's not equal. It's not equal at all. And the comfort was there, and just being open and honest and frank. And I remember, again, one of my kids this week was like, Miss Brown, have you had a lot of fights with your close friends? And I was like, no. They were like, really? But you have to fight. I said, no, and I gave them an example of Zuleika and Linda. Those are the two known the longest. I'm like, well, we're just so open and honest with each other. We say what we have to say, and we're honest with each other. No, I don't necessarily agree with you. This is why. Okay, that's your opinion. Well, no, I don't agree with you that that's your opinion. But we came to the middle ground of learning to agree to disagree. You're not always going to agree with your friend. And if your friend is always agreeing with you, that's a problem for me. For me, I'm going to speak for myself. If every time I have to speak to you or come to you for counsel, oh, yes, Angie, that was great. Oh, no, your tone was perfect. You weren't rude. You weren't mean. Knowing on the inside, I know that I was. Okay. No, you will learn to agree to disagree. And I explained that to one of my kids that asked me this week, and they were like, wow, but my parents are always fighting with their friends. They go, you should see what goes on, Miss Brown. I was like, that's okay. I'll pray that friendship either lasts or it ends. And I was honest with my kids. I said, I'll pray that it either lasts and they work out what needs to be worked out, or that it ends. And sometimes that is needed, which I will address that too. One of my friends, Randy, from her working in Long Island, she really didn't have good experiences with, people, and some of it she did take responsibility because sometimes she could be very closed off and distant. So the first year I would just see her in my school, and we would say hi, have small talk. And anytime we had a birthday celebration at school, she was always invited. She would never show up. Some people were like, well, I'm going to stop inviting her. You need to stop inviting her, and she never comes. I'm like, if she chooses not to come, she chooses not to come. But for me, if we're in middle school, I'm going to invite everyone in the middle school. I'm not going to exclude someone, regardless they want to come or not. It's a middle school birthday celebration, so I'm not going to exclude her just because she doesn't come at all. She eventually came. Her husband, Craig, was like, Randy, you need to, reach out, start interacting, with other people at your school. He goes, I'm sure there is someone there that's normal that you could develop some type of relationship with. I love Craig. I love that man. He's great. So that's how it started to develop. She started to come to my classroom when we both had preps, when we were off. We would just talk. We started to become more open and, honest and with each other. And what we have now, I could actually say, is a solid friendship. And Randy knows I don't use that word lightly. Even when Sherry came to my school a few years ago for observation. She goes, wow, all these people were like, ooh, Angie's such a great friend. And I was like, half of them, they're not my friend, Sherry. They call me their friend, but they're not my friend. Nothing against them, but my level, my standards, it doesn't, match. And I told Sherry, I said, well, if they see me as a friend, then I'm happy I'm doing my job. That's what I want, people to know what a true friend is. I am not called nor ordained to be everyone's friend. Like I said, that's a responsibility and accountability, and I'm not concerned about quantity. I'm concerned about quality. Sustained friendships or any relationship through years is communication, honesty, trust, and loyalty. Honesty, trust, and loyalty. Jesse Duplantis said a quote that I agree with. The very life of friendship is mutual confidence, which means a bond has to be formed. For me, this means you must establish a friendship with God first. God must be able to trust you as a friend, and you must know how to keep covenant and also keeping secrets, meaning not running your mouth every time someone tells you something, like your eyewitness news. I'm just being real because I see that a lot. And I'm an observer. I like to observe people. And a lot of times I'm like, I see why you don't really have true friends because you're the problem. And I've actually had to address a few of my coworkers that came to me recently and was like, I'm always having problems with friends, or I never could find true friends. And I said to one in particular, I didn't want to say it at first because she's very emotional, but God was like, no, I want you to say it because she needs to hear it and she will listen from you. I said, because you're not a friend. I said, you're condescending, you're mean, you're nasty. When the next best person comes, you drop everyone else. And then when they treat you like crap, you go back to your original set. And your original set has gotten tired of it. That's why. And she broke down crying, and I was like, oh, I just asked you, Jesus. I didn't want to say this to her. I didn't know, because she's very emotional, so I didn't know how she was really, what the crying was, what the reaction. And what she said, obviously I would have never expected from her. She goes, this is why I came to you, Angie, because you're the first person that will not have a problem being honest, and you're not saying it to be mean. And I said, well, I'm willing to work with you because I do want you to be a good friend, because there are great qualities about you. I told her, there really are. There really are great qualities about her, and just from speaking to her, I've found out through her upbringing with her parents, they always shunned her or shamed her and always put the older sister on the higher pedestal. So, of course, but I did explain to her, I said, but we're not going to use that as an excuse because you're 32 years old. I said, I will help you as much as I can, and God allows me to show you what a true friend is, and for you to be that true friend to other people and to pass that along. We must also know that we could trust God. And I'm going to make a reference to Abraham. So James chapter 2, verse 23. And I'm reading out of the NIV. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, and he was called God's friend. Abraham made the choice and the acceptance and the willingness to accept and acknowledge that God called him his friend and that he knew that God was his friend. And that that Abraham also knew that he was a good friend to God. And I still, every day, as I am as a teacher, when I do a lesson, even through the lesson, I'm like, oh, I can make this better. I could do this differently this year and differently next year. That's the same what I do every day when I interact with my friends, how I can be a better friend to them and to anyone else that I'm walking in that example as a better friend. I'm always checking up on myself. That's just how I am. I'm always doing self-checks. Sometimes God has to tell me, Angie, relax, you're fine. Just calm it down. But I always want to be that great example for other people, for them to be even a better example than I am to someone else, especially in the form of friendship. This is now my own personal quote that I made up. When you feel calm and comfortable around someone, you know you can confide in them and are confident they are trustworthy and loyal. That's a keeper as a friend. There have been many a times I've had people call me and I'm like, I have no idea, Jesus, how to respond to this. I've never had this experience. I've never had anyone growing up with the experience. And I would tell them sometimes when I'm on the phone with them, I'm like, can I call you back in 5 minutes? I just need to do something. And that something was to sit with God and say, do you have anything for me to say to help them? Because if not, then I'm good. Because I'm not going to help you just to say something so I could say, ooh, Angie helped that person, yes, give me 100 points. No, if I'm going to help you, I want to be equipped myself. Regardless if I have any personal experience or background, whatever, you felt led to call me, so I'm going to believe that God told you to call me, but I want to be equipped because I don't want to put you out there. I'm not one of those friends. I do it all the time. It was a few weeks ago when Edwidge and I went out to eat, and I was like, Edwidge, that's not that girl's real friend letting her come out dressed like that. I'm like, really? I was like, that's just wrong. Why they let her out there like that? And I was like, well, even if someone did say something to her and then she still was dressing like that, I would have walked across the street because they would have known I wouldn't let you be out there like that. So I don't want my friends, because I don't use that word lightly, to be put out there if I'm not equipped or I'm not the appointed person to help them. So if I ever tell you, let me call you back in 5 minutes, hint, hint, I will call you back in 5 minutes, but I want to make sure that, one, I am the person that you were supposed to be calling, and I am the person that God wants to speak through to help you. Friendship, any relationship, also requires frank and open conversations with each other. They will not always be comfortable. Trust me, I know. Even though people may think that just because I'm so frank and honest, a lot of times on the inside, I'm not comfortable having to speak to certain situations. And you have to learn to agree to disagree. Last month, I had to speak to my dear Lindsay about our friendship. Initially, was I comfortable with it? No. And the reason why was, again, sometimes I'm always concerned about the other person's reaction. I'm going to be honest. Whether they're going to be mad, upset, overly emotional, I'm still concerned about how their reaction and then how I'm going to react to that. And I had to have that frank and open conversation. I love Lindsay, that's my girl, but I know she wouldn't have had it with me. So I chose to have it. I don't like walking around phony like, oh, there's nothing wrong or there's no problems. I like to hash it out. And that's just what I'm used to with my parents, with my cousins, with my siblings. We're just used to hashing it out. If we felt that there's some tension in the air, we would call family meetings. We would call family meetings, and one of us still, to this day, still call family meetings. Like, we need to address something here, because something's not right. So I pulled her into the lobby after church, and I spoke with her. And I said to her, I said, Lindsay, you have great qualities about you as a friend, but you don't see it, recognize it, or acknowledge it. And you don't walk in it. I said, I would like for this friendship to continue, because I saw her face. I saw it all in her face, like I was about to break up with her, and her life was going to be destroyed. She had that face. Am I lying? So I said, but in order for this to continue to grow and mature, I need you to accept you and how God has created you and designed you. And I want you to accept your friendship that you have with God, that He has called you His friend, that He does love you. And I also made a request. I'm like really a low maintenance friend, so if I'm asking you for a request, it's very rare. I said, I need you to stop coming to me like you're the low person on the totem pole. Like how she would approach me like, oh, I'm not worthy to be your friend. And just by how she would speak or have conversations with me, and it started to bother me. And I was like, okay, if it's bothering me, I'm like, Jesus, you need to give me an appropriate time to address this, because this friendship here is not going to continue to grow. It's not going to be properly nurtured, and it's not fair for the both of us. And I said, more importantly, forget about me. It's not fair to her, because it's not going to help her grow. And at first, Lindsay was a little bit perplexed, confused. And I was like, Lindsay, you come to me as if this is the first time you met me, and you're scared to talk to me, or you're scared that I'm going to reject you, and that's not needed. I said, you need to accept you the way that God has created you. And she said she received it and accepted, and I do believe her, because I know Lindsay really well. If she'll say yes, yes, and you know that she really didn't get it. And, and then she said to me, she goes, I'm so glad that we had this conversation, because I was, thinking like, is this going to end, or is it going to continue? And I was like, well, Lindsay, let me know also what you want in this friendship, because I could want something, and if you want something totally different, we're going to have to find a middle ground. And she was like, I don't want you to be closed off anymore and reserved, because I feel like now that you don't open up as much as you would before. And again, I was honest. I said, because you felt like you were below me or not worthy. So why would I be open with you as how we were before in the beginning? And I was being real. And that doesn't happen a lot. In any type of relationship, people don't want to be real. And you are hurting yourself and that other person and that relationship that God has blessed you with by not being real. Like I said, you have to learn to agree to disagree, and it's not always going to be comfortable. It's not. There were a few times, I could say Pastor and I have a friendship. There were a few times we both butted heads. Both butted heads. And I would call him or email him if I knew that he was in some meeting. I was like, I'm not going to call him. I'll text him. You know what? I still don't agree with this part, but this 90% here, I did agree with you, Pastor, and that 10%, I'm still asking God to show me what I need to learn out of that. Even if I didn't agree with it, I still want to know, well, what do I need to learn out of that? And a lot of times people don't want to do that. Well, I don't agree. Okay, you stay not agreeing. Stay in your crappy friendships and relationships that's going to be fake anyway. And see how happy and how long that's going to last. Tell each other when you are right and wrong, and compliment each other well. Iron sharpens iron. I definitely get that from my dad and from Pastor. Iron sharpens iron, because we are very similar, my dad and Pastor. And I love them, and I appreciate, both of them. And I've been honest with Pastor numerous times while he's, giving me corrections for those rare moments that I was having an Angie moment. I would say, I don't agree with you right now. I don't like what you're saying, but I know it's true. Total contradiction of my statements. But I let him know what I was thinking in my head. That's just because I'm just so honest. I'll just sit there and be like, okay, no, you're annoying me right now with what you're saying, but I know it's true, but I'm just going to bask in my annoyance for one more minute, and then I'll get over it. I do. I don't like to be annoyed for a long time. It takes too much energy. Man. And you get a headache. And it's just annoying. It is, right? It's just annoying for no reason. Wasting energy for no reason. Great counsel. Proverbs 27, verse 9. And I'm going to read out of the New Living Translation. Proverbs 27, verse 9. The heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume and incense. I also like to say the heartfelt counsel of a friend softens your heart, because you have that true friend that's going to be open and honest with you. And even if it might pinch at that moment, you truly know deep down inside, your heart's all warm and fuzzy that, yes, this person's being real and honest with me, and that's a keeper. So the heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume and incense. And I'm going to add to that, it softens and warms your heart. I like John Lennon's quote, "Being honest may not get you many friends, but it will get you to the right ones." Honesty at all times shows you are trustworthy. We're going to look at Proverbs 19, verse 22. New Living Translation that talks about loyalty. Loyalty makes a person attractive. It is better to be poor than dishonest. Again, I'd rather someone that's loyal and honest, and like I said for myself, whether if I was supposed to address it at that moment or not, at least I could still say that that person is honest. I don't want someone that's always going to be my cheerleader. It's nice, but I don't want always someone to agree with me, knowing that if I need that correction. Because to me, that's being dishonest and not trustworthy. And that also means God can't trust you, because you're not showing that you're trustworthy to him. And if you're like that with people in the natural form, it's safe to say that's how we're treating God. Proverbs 24, verse 26. I'm going to read out of two different versions for the same Proverbs 24:26. The first one is the Message version. And it says, "An honest answer is like a warm hug." And then I like the other one, That's some long CEVUK00. Yeah, it's long. Giving an honest answer is a sign of true friendship. Being honest, like John Lennon said, may not get you many friends, but that giving an honest answer, that gets you the right friend, the true friendship that I know we all desire and continue to grow with the ones that we have a true friendship with. People will only want you to tell them what they want to hear. And a lot of times, and Pastor has said it in messages, I've heard it from my mom, my dad, a lot of times they don't want your help. They just want to complain, for you to listen to them complain, and actually we're being a hindrance when we do that consistently all the time. First day of school, first day of class, I always tell my kids, I lay down the framework, which is why I really have no nonsense in my class. I tell them, I said, I am very honest. I am not here to hurt your feelings, but I'm also not going to be here to make you look like a fool either. If you come to me, I am going to be honest, and if you don't want the honest answer, please go find out for another teacher and don't ask Miss Brown. Which is why when other teachers come to me and say, oh, did so-and-so tell you this, this, and that? I said, no, they wouldn't dare, and that's not the version that I was told, and the version that I was told, that is the true version because the child admitted to it. Oh, well, the child was honest with you? I said, well, you'll believe anything anyone says, no offense. And I lay that out the first day of school. I tell them, I always use the American Idol syndrome. I said, you know those people that go on American Idol, kids? They go, yes, Miss Brown. And you know they can't sing. They don't even have a tune. And you have the family and friends rallying behind them saying, yes, they are great. They are the next so-and-so, this, and that. And they get mad with the judges when they kick them off. I'm not like that. If you can't sing, I'm going to tell you nicely, please don't try an audition. And then I will proceed to tell you, please don't say Ms. Brown told me to audition, and don't give me a shout out on public TV because people will know you're lying. And it's true. My kids, some of them, they do try to get over on me, but then I proceed to tell them, can you please tell me the real version? Okay, Ms. Brown, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to tell you the truth. But because I'm honest with them, and they know my honesty is not to hurt them, it's to help them, and I don't want them going out in the world looking or being crazy. If I'm that one person in their life ever, to be honest with them, I'm thankful for that seed. Because that seed I have nurtured for the 9 months that I am with those kids, and somewhere it will spring back up and they will remember, and that will make me happy. That I did that job with the kids and the people God has entrusted in my care. I take it very seriously when God gives me people. I don't take it lightly. It's a responsibility that I love, I enjoy, but I take it very seriously, and I want to take care of it. There was another time I had to call a family meeting. It was the week after my grandmother's service when she went to be home with Jesus. And more so, my mom and my brother just kept snapping at each other, just stupid little arguments. And, you know, my dad's trying to diffuse it. I ignored it the first day, but the second day I was like, Dad, enough is enough. I just can't, take it. And he goes, okay, do what you have to do. So I called everyone in the living room. We had a family meeting. I said, I know for you, Mom, and for you, Pierre, it's still a sore time right now. Grandma's not here anymore. I'm not trying to be insensitive, And these were my exact words. I said, but this crap between you two need to stop. It needs to stop now. Whatever you need to deal with, you need to deal with. And I said, Pierre, whatever you need to deal with in regards to grandma not being here, deal with it. It needs to stop. And they both looked at me. And of course, I love my mom. And I was like, oh, I hope my mom is not deeply upset or offended with me. And she came over and gave me a hug and said, I'm so glad that God has blessed me with you as a daughter and a friend. Because I know you would be honest. And she goes, even no matter what amount of time, she goes, I know probably someone else would have let it go on for months or years because they didn't want to tread on how quick this situation is, and they might use the excuse, well, it's, a tough situation or it's a tricky moment. I was like, no, enough is enough. And again, because that's not how my family operates. If we have a problem, we address it no matter what's going on. So for me, I wasn't used to that. Even with grandma being gone, I wasn't used to it. So I was like, no, this is not how it's going to go down in this household, because it doesn't go down like that. And then my brother, that's my baby, Pierre. I asked for him. I remember when my parents said that they were pregnant. I said, ooh, we're having a baby? And then my dad goes, yeah, you and me and your mom. I go, no, all three of us. That's my baby. And I asked for a brother, and I did get it. And for him, he always says, he goes, even though sometimes I think you're picking on me, Angie, or you don't believe in me enough, but that's just me. But I know that you're honest, and I wouldn't want any other person as my sister, as my friend. And my dad, anyone that knows my dad, you can see the interaction between me and my dad. I am my father's child. I am his baby girl. And he does tell people, he goes, let me ask what my friend wants. And they go, oh, your wife? He goes, no, my daughter. And a lot of times he gets that weird look like, oh, you call your daughter your friend? He goes, well, and one time a man was like, well, where's the balance? And he goes, she grew up with balance. She knows when it's mommy and daddy mode, and then she knows where it's mommy, daddy mode, and friend time. I do have that balance with my parents, and they are, after God, my first true initial friends of where I learned friendship. My mom, my dad, and my grandmother. So yes, your parents can be your friend with the proper balance. My mommy and daddy are my friends. Also, being honest and loyal, you have to embrace it, accept it, and also pay it forward with other people. Because if you're not, I find that it's a slap in God's face if you're not valuing the people that he has in your life or the future people that he will bring in your life. It's as if you have that I'm not worthy, syndrome. And we all have our moments with that, but you could choose to continue to dwell in I'm not worthy, or to know who your true friend is, which is God, and to know that you are royalty and that you are heir with him. Then let's stop slapping God in his face when he blesses you with true friendship. Friendship cannot be one-sided. There must be equality. This was one of my quotes. Honesty, trust, and excellent communication is essential in friendship. In addition, both people must equally contribute to the nurturing of the successful friendship. It cannot be one-sided. Otherwise, there is no equality. You cannot be concerned about what you always want or what you always need? Have you asked the other person what they would like or what they might need in this friendship or relationship that God has blessed and ordained? You have to be willing to be a blessing to others. And that's one of the things that I enjoy and that I love doing. Just something as simple. Pastor had this certain body wash fragrance that he likes. I went on Amazon a few years ago and I researched it because he couldn't find it in the stores. No, he did find it in the stores, but it was real small. I went on Amazon. I was like, ooh, here it is. He didn't ask me. I just pay attention. And then I called him next day. I said, well, soon you'll be getting this case because I decided to order it for you. I found the bigger size. And it was 6 packs, yes. I knew that he was looking for it. I knew that he liked it. I just took it upon myself to, research it. And, there we go. I just enjoy, blessing people. And again, that's just because that's what I'm used to from my parents, from my grandmother. You would come to the store with me and my parents. My dad would go, oh, you're looking at that too hard. Go put it in the cart. I know you want it. So there's been plenty of people that also get blessed from my parents, which is a blessing because they are a blessing. And that goes back to in Genesis chapters 1 and 2, that's one of God's major purposes, to be a blessing to others. And it's definitely shown for me in Genesis 1 and 2. And with that, you must allow the other person or people to participate. That goes back to you cannot always have what you want or what you need. It's equal. There's 2, 3, however many people, but there's equality. One person cannot always be doing anything. And also, even if that one person is always doing everything, that person needs to check themselves too. Because a lot of times we don't look at that. We'll look at, oh, well, the other person's not doing their part in this, and that. But why do you feel that you need to always do something? And I had to look at that with myself. And I said, well, God, because no one else is doing anything for them. He goes, there's a reason. If there's not one other person, generally that they're calling their friend, being there for them, then it's that person. And that was something that I had to learn to swallow because it was not easy. It was not easy. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be a hindrance then if I'm doing that, because that sucks. So it's both ways. Why do you feel the need to always be doing something? Are you trying to overcompensate for something? And also, why is the other person not contributing? This is one of my favorite ones that I still have to be mindful. You cannot try to appease everyone. When you do, you help to keep them captured in their own bondage. No is an answer. And I've had to learn that through my dad and pastor. No is an answer. They go, Angie, just say no. If they get upset, oh well. And this is what I would allow some people that I would entertain, because a lot of times we like to blame the other person, but if it keeps happening, you're allowing it, so where's your accountability? You could keep saying, well, this person keeps doing this to me. They keep calling and complaining. You keep picking up. I am very grateful for caller ID. On house phones, cell phones, whatever. You keep picking up, so you are also responsible. We can't always blame the other person. We play a part, whether it's being dishonest, whether it's being overbearing, whether it's being a hindrance, we still play the part. We still play the part. So I had to learn to say no, and there were quite a few people that didn't know how to deal with it, especially when I started my doctorate program. My first year, I basically was incognito. There were events I was invited to. No, I can't go. I have to get this work in. Well, you normally organized, Angie. How long ago did they give it to you? And then I would start thinking, like, yeah, they did give it to me a month in advance. What was I doing? And God was like, oh, no, you've been working for the month. Don't entertain that. Don't entertain that. And I was like, oh. I would start to allow them to make me feel bad. Because, again, they were used to Angie always being at their disposal, available. So when the no's started coming, then other comments started coming. Well, when you get a chance, when you stop touring the world or your busy schedule, I know you have a lot going on. Would you possibly be able, and there was a female in particular God had me address. He goes, you need to address that, and I want it addressed now. And I go, but I am busy, so I could understand why she's saying, oh, when you're available and not busy, let me know. He goes, no. Her tone and demeanor behind it is jealousy. And I want you to address it now. And then me still, I said, can I just say one more comment? He goes, yes. I said, but the other day, Sherry called me and said, oh, Angie, when you're available, let me know. And it was the same thing. He goes, no, Sherry's tone was different. And she wasn't operating out of jealousy. I said, all right, I get it. I was like, I have no more questions. And I did have to address this young lady. She was like, no, that's not what I was meaning. And, you know, when we want to justify something, we've all done it, knowing that we were wrong. I said, no. God told me to tell you to cut it out, and you're operating out of jealousy. And if it keeps it up, then you have decided the road that this friendship's going to take. I said, you will have made the decision, not me. And safe to say, I have one less person that I need to be responsible for because she made the choice. And actually, I was not as unhappy as I thought I would be. We have to be willing and obedient, as it talks about in Isaiah 1:19. There will be people that God will tell you to remove, and you will not be happy at first. Hence, that young female was one of them, but there was one in particular that I have known since I was 14 years old in high school. My friend Richie, that was my brother. He started in his 20s to just go on a path that was destructive. The other 5 of us that were all close, we would have constant interventions with him. Wasn't working, this, and that. And God was like, you have done your part. You need to remove yourself. I remember one time I sat down and spoke with my dad. I even called pastor. I was like, look, I have this friend since high school. He's not doing this, and that. I'm still trying, to help. And pastor's like, why are you still trying? He made his decision. He doesn't want help. I said, but what if he falls? And then I see him, he goes, well, walk over him. I said, wow, that's kind of mean. Even though I knew it was true, but still, at that moment, I felt it was kind of mean. And it's true. He kept crossing the line, and he kept hardening his heart, and he chose to make the decisions that he was making. And that one message when Pastor did on Balaam, that just solidified it for me. Helped my decision. I was like, oh. I was like, no. And I didn't know that's how the other 5 felt, that they just wanted to remove themselves as well. And we all just removed ourselves. And thankfully that he got himself back together, got himself back with Jesus. And all 6 of us have been solid for the past 2 years. So I'm very, very grateful. But we have to cast that care onto God, as it says in 1 Peter 5:7. Let's go to that. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. And that's what I was operating on, anxiety. I was like, but he's going to be by himself. No one's going to be there. What if something happens? I know you're always there, God, but what if no one physically is going to be there? He goes, he made the decision. He doesn't want anyone's help. And that's something I had to accept, even though still initially I wasn't happy with. But I had to accept that was his decision. Once someone makes a decision, you can't help change their mind. We need to learn what our job is of what we can fix and what's not our job to fix. So we must know what our job is on what we are responsible for fixing, which is us not operating out of anxiety, fear, emotions, feeling the need to appease, as opposed to what it's not our job to fix. True friends will cover you. Proverbs 17, verse 9. I'm going to read out of the AMP. Whoever would foster love covers an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. I'm going to deal with the latter part. Whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. Over a year ago, me and my friend Maria had to have an intervention with another friend. And she was always, became at this point constantly projecting, well, see, this is what, again, her expectation, this is what I always expect from people. They always let me down, they're always not there, or they always don't want to help. Because she, as God showed me, was the type of person that never heard the word no. And she was always used to being appeased to, because I guess no one, for whatever reason, wanted to deal with her aftermath or whatever it is. And Maria and I just kind of got tired of it. We've addressed it with her before numerous times. The apologies were there, and she was good, and then it would reoccur. And I said, look, Maria, I'm tired of this cycle. I don't have any tolerance or patience for it anymore. She's choosing to repeat the same matter to destroy this friendship. She's making the decision and the choice. So we had the conversation with her. I didn't know Maria felt the same way as I did, because Maria was quiet when Maria and I were speaking. I verbally had no problem expressing how I felt. So when we spoke with our friend, Maria's like, well, I'm just done. I just can't take this friendship anymore. It's going up and down instead of up, and you never want to listen to anyone. And then Maria left. So it was just her and I left there. And she goes, see, this is why I could never have friends, because people are always leaving. And I'm like, again, she's always projecting what someone else did onto someone else. And that's a big mistake people make in any type of relationship. Just because you had a bad boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, or whatever, and then you have new people in your life that you know are true and valued and worthy, and you know the difference, that's how you could mess up a relationship, by constantly projecting what someone else did to you on them. Having that expectation when I had nothing to do with whatever your past was. That's how whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. You keep harping on the same issue and not getting over it, and now projecting it in your new relationships. That's why you can't sustain anything. Anything. And that includes your job. Because you haven't dealt with that. So it will trickle over into every area of your life. And I explained to her, I said, I'm done. I said, I can no longer just deal with this friendship, just deal with this relationship. It's becoming overbearing. I said it's becoming unenjoyable. And I was honest with her. I said, it's to the point when I see you calling me, I don't get joy. I get, what is she going to complain about now? And I said, you know what? And I take responsibility for allowing this to go on too long. I said, you're not going to take all the blame. I'm going to take 100% as you were going to take 100% of it because I allowed it to go on. I said, but what I do want you to take out of this, we had 99% of our friendship was great. This 1% that doesn't seem to be changing and that you're not willing to change, but that 99% that was fruitful and excellent, I want you to use that with your next true friend, but it's not me anymore. And that was something that was not easy, but it needed to be done because I can't be a hindrance to her and to myself, and I don't want to be a phony friend. Okay, I'm almost finished. God trusts us with his reputation, meaning the good fruit that we operate in. And friendship helps us to regulate, purify, and justify our lives. Don't focus on the quantity, but focus on the quality. And that's something I tell my kids that I teach every year. If you have that one true friend, you are blessed. Because a lot of times the people that supposedly have all these 20, 30, 40 friends, probably 2 of them are really their true friend. And a friend also protects with balance. I've had to learn that because if I hear someone bothering someone that's close to me and dear to me, I want to knock them out. But I need to be mindful and with balance. Sometimes they have to fight their own battles, and Super Angie doesn't need to intervene. They'll be okay. I will end with this. When you make the decision to deepen your friendship with God and accept him as your friend, God will teach you how to be the excellent friend he designed you to be. So when you make that decision to deepen your friendship with God and accept him as your friend, God will teach you how to be the excellent friend he's designed and equipped you to be. Thank you.